Good morning and welcome. Hope everyone here and on Zoom, you can see the cameras up there, is having a good start to your day. My name is Jeff Meller, and I'm a board member of the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the board, the program council, the people here, and those online. A note of caution. If you've come today in the hopes of attending the mid-year congregational meeting, you're 2 weeks early. It will take place after the service on January 28th. That said, you're welcome here, whoever you are, wherever you're from, and wherever you are on your journey. If you would like more information about TVUUC, please fill out the visitor information card. It's a little white card on the back of the seat in front of you, I hope, and fill it out. And you can place it in the baskets at the corner of the choir area as you leave the service. As we move forward together, you can go on to the please remember that we are each other's keepers, and that remembers remembering to silence your phone, which I remembered that, but I forgot my hearing aids this morning. If you or your family are interested in programs about religious education for youth and parents, you can visit our religious exploration table in the lobby as you walk in. Houston Davis is there today to answer any questions that you may have. Got some other announcements. Number one, Martin Luther King Day on Monday means the church will be closed. Two, there may be some weather coming up, inclement weather, sufficient to close the church. So if it looks like there might be problems, check on the website or otherwise inform us if you are uncertain about whether to come for a planned event. Now, our President Eddie Chin has some announcements for you, and I turn the podium over to him.
Thank you, Jeff. I guess Jeff gave you a reminder that we'll have our congregational meeting on Sunday, January 28th. Now, on that particular day, you'll be voting on some bylaw changes that we feel that will have a profound effect on the growth and the health and well-being of our church going into the future. With that said, on this Tuesday, January 16th at 6:00 p.m., we're holding our January board meeting. We will be reviewing some of those bylaws during that meeting and voting to pass it on to the congregation. And like all board meetings, the congregation is invited to attend if they want to attend. If you're interested in listening into the Zoom, there will be a link posted on the church calendar for you to attend. There'll be other items on the agenda, so the bylaws will begin maybe about 6:45 to 6:55 time frame. That's just an educated guess if everybody keeps online on what they were supposed to say or the time limit they have, but I know most of you know that UUs like to talk, so sometimes it may run a little bit longer. Now, if the board passes the vote, the information will be passed on to the congregation of all the bylaws on Wednesday, the next day in the newsletter. Also on Sunday, January 21st, a week from today, before church begins at 9:30, we have reserved the Lizzie Crozier-French room to hold a session where people can come and ask questions about the bylaws if you're interested. In addition, next 2 Sundays after the service, we'll have a table set up in the fellowship hall for those people that want to ask more questions now about it. Anyway, please make it a point to use your UU democratic right to vote on Sunday, January 28th to express your opinion. We'll have it in person, virtually, and by proxy. Thank you.
Good morning. This meditation is from a theatrical piece, a play about 3 Irish legends. And the legend that this piece pictures is the god Manaun, who before time and space existed, he took the particles that would become our existence and created these massive tides to move it back and forth and set existence into beginning. And as a theatrical piece, it has a sound effect which represents the tides, and that sound effect is coming from the piano with Gavin playing huge clusters of piano notes all at the same time, and those are the tides.
You both sides of the house have a part in this opening words. This side say, "Come in, be among us." Be among us. All right. To all who are yearning for community, to all who are just getting started, to all who long to go deeper, to all with tender places needing care, to the ones who have healed and have care to give, for those who are curious and hungry to learn, for those who know that they have something to teach, For the ones who are just beginning to suspect they might nurture others becoming, to the young and the old, the innocent and the jaded, the fresh of mind and the deeply steeped, there is room here for each and every one. So be it. Let us join together in our chalice lighting song. Service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant. Let us join together in hymn 1074 in your teal hymnal, Turn the World Around.
And while you are searching in your book for 1074, the composer of this is Harry Belafonte. He was born of Jamaican parents in Harlem, and he was active in the civil rights movement. He, quote, discovered this song in Africa from a storyteller in the early 70s, celebrating all of creation, saying, there really isn't any difference in any of us when we take time to understand each other, so let's turn the world around. We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living in the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Whoa, so is the light, so is the light. Whoa, so is the light, so is the light. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Whoa, who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Whoa, so is the light. So is the light. Whoa, so is the light. So is the light. Water makes the river, river wash the mountain, fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are
Good morning. It is good to be gathered here in all the ways that we gather here in this space, and those who are watching from other spaces in this building or at home or other places. I'm so glad to be together today, and I have a story to share with you this morning. It is one, there have been many versions of this story over the years, and it may be familiar to some of us, and it may be new to some of us. This is adapted from a version by Liu An, and I need your help as I tell the story this morning. When you hear me say, "I don't know," I need you to say some words back to me. The words I need you to say are, "Could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell." All right, shall we practice? I don't know. Could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell. Thank you. So this story begins long ago with a man who was a farmer. And one day, the farmer found, when he went out to see his land, he found that his horse, which he used to help carry wood and help with other things around the farm, had escaped from its pasture. And as he was looking at the broken gate, and he thought he might even see dust in the distance where the horse had galloped off, he noticed that a neighbor was nearby. And the neighbor came and saw what had happened too, and she said to him, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You won't have a horse now to help you. How bad for you." And the farmer looked at her and thought for a minute and said, "Well, I don't know. Could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell." Well, the next day, do you know what happened? The next day, the horse came back. Not only did it come home, but it brought with it a wild mare that it had found that then came back with it. And suddenly, now what? The farmer had how many horses? 2 horses. Well, when the neighbor heard this news, she rushed over and she said, "Oh my goodness, this is so great. How good for you. Now you have 2 horses instead of 1. And the farmer said, "I don't know. Be good. Could be bad. Too soon to tell." Well, a couple of days after that, they had learned that this new horse was a wild mare, had never been tamed, had never been ridden, had never helped on a farm. And so the farmer's son decided to try and tame the wild mare. Now, this was hard and dangerous work. And as he was trying to work with the mare threw him and stepped on his legs in many places. And the farmer rushed out. And he gathered his broken boy in his arms, and his neighbor came rushing over and said, "Oh my gosh, how terrible for you, how bad for you. My sorrow is your sorrow." And the farmer looked up at her, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "I don't know. Could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell." In time, the country that the farmer lived in went to war, and many of the young people were called upon to go and be soldiers. And so one afternoon, the farmer, with his boy on crutches standing next to him, and their neighbor nearby, watched as many people walked down the road to go to the struggle. And in fact, the neighbor waved goodbye to her own 2 sons as they walked away, and with tears in her eyes this time said, "Say it, just go ahead and say it. How good for you that your boy doesn't have to go." And one more time, the farmer turned to her with compassion in his eyes and said, "I don't know. Could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell." I wonder how many of us have ever had a situation in which things didn't go the way we thought they would. Have any of us ever had something unexpected happen? Sometimes it feels very clear that that unexpected thing is this really great thing or a really terrible thing, but I suggest that we take to heart the idea in this story that we can't always see clearly what is going to come or what the impact of things that happen are. And so one more time, we might say to ourselves, I don't know. Could be good, could be bad, too soon to tell. Thank you all for helping with the story this morning. And now we are going to sing our learners and leaders out, those who are going to our RE spaces as we sing our recessional.
Yes, the future of our precious children. My name is Carolyn, and I'm here as part of the spiritual care team. You might want to settle in. There are a lot of things to share today. So there are 8 of us who are trained volunteers, and several people have professional experience, but a lot of us have a lot of experience. So as we begin this time of sharing, let's welcome our online friends and to join us in this time. So the spiritual care team, members of the volunteers are available to you in many different ways, and we want to hear from you. You might have something on your mind. You might even can't quite put your finger on it, and we can listen. People often discover that when someone fully listens to them, they can hear themselves better. So you can try that out today at the listening booths. Mike and Tina will be at the listening booths today. So we can also meet with you one-on-one or on the phone, and we don't share anything unless you give us permission to. And then there's the pastoral care number is in the order of service and online. And you can visit the listening booth today. Did I mention that? So the people on the spiritual care team, we're not the only volunteers who provide a valuable presence to people. I also help coordinate volunteers who provide meals and rides and occasional visits. There are others among us who support each other through heart-to-heart groups, small group ministries, the caregivers and grief support group. We're all in this together. So if you know somebody you haven't seen in a while and you don't know what to say, we are taught that a simple call or card or text saying, "I'm thinking of you," can make a huge difference in somebody's day. So now, take a deep breath with me as we bring our attention to our joys and concerns in our community. So we are sad to share that our former member, Ray Whedon, passed away suddenly this last week. When Ray and Jean were active here at TVUUC, he and I worked together on what we then called the lay ministry team. He always provided a kind presence to those who needed a listening ear. And he and Jean had been singing with the Alzheimer's Heart Sing chorus. Their director wrote this about Ray when she let the chorus know what was going on. She said, "He was always smiling, that ready, mischievous, big smile. He brought so much to the Heart Sing chorus with his deep voice and gentle ways. And who can forget the day he cut loose on the drum when we sang Little Drummer Boy?" So we're thinking of Jean in this time of deep loss. Also, Mike Matvee's sister, Mary, is having some serious health issues. Mike was really glad to be able to visit her in California last week. He requests your thoughts and prayers for her healing. And Eddie is sad to share, Eddie Chin is sad to share that his longtime dog pal of 13 years, Jake, died early this week. As many of you know, Jake was always ready to wear whatever costume Eddie would provide for celebratory occasions. Paul and I were remembering the 4th of July photo he sent with Jake decorated in appropriate red, white, and blue patriotic attire, including sunglasses. Eddie is grateful for the years that they shared. Jake is a good dog. Neil Greenberg reports that Kathy had successful shoulder replacement on Thursday, and she had a good experience with, as he said, Park West Hospital, staff, facilities, and physicians until, as Neil says, the nerve block wore off. Then she felt everything everywhere all at once. So she expects to be homebound for about 6 weeks, and he says this is the best excuse yet for binge watching her favorite TV shows. So may the healing go well for both of them. And Mark Mahundro is happy to say that he is home from rehab and glad to have his parents and his friends checking in on him. He welcomes your visits, but please do call in advance. Hooray for Mark, home again. Let's see, where am I? Yes, Roy Kersey has this joy to report. My daughter, says he, my daughter, Jessica Kersey, and her wife, Mary Lee Harris, have had a long struggle to conceive a child, and after many setbacks through the magic of IVF, in true cooperative fashion, they decided Jessica would carry Mary Lee's fertilized egg. Now, Jessica is an attorney, so she knew that even in Tennessee, this would automatically make both of them legal parents of the child. So, in the fullness of time, writes Roy, after a long labor, Griffin James Kersey Harris came into this world through C-section this past Thursday, weighing in at, get this, 9 pounds 1 ounce. If you've ever done this, you know that's too much. Baby and both mothers are doing very well, and Roy and Susan are over the moon and have pictures to show already. Blessed be. Okay, yes. Cheers. So let's see. And Bob Grimmick shares a joy that the volunteers braved the cold this morning and picked up 100 pieces of trash and litter on the Greenway. There is more notice out there about how you can help pick up litter. And while it is a joy for some of us to anticipate a beautiful snowfall, there's always another way to look at it. Bob Grimmick is gathering sleeping bags and blankets for immigrant families who have no heat. So please bring your donations to the church today between 5 and 6. Leave them in a bag out the front door, and he'll be here at 6 to pick them up. Also, in the past, he says Wimberley had offered her home for the mom and 2 children as a place during the cold. I don't know that they ever accepted, but so. And the other thing is, you can take that to his house, and you can see me later, and I'll tell you where he lives, very near here. Okay. So while I shared joys and concerns, when I did a couple of weeks ago, we remembered so many others who are dealing with health issues and broken bones and surgeries and serious illnesses and loss of loved ones. And then there are those among us who are adjusting to the loss of companionship, long companionship due to memory loss. And so remembering this wisdom we're given to send a simple note of thinking of you to a friend. Let's stop right here for just a couple of seconds more, just for a few seconds, and think of 1 or 2 people you might reach out to this week. Just give it a minute. So we're all in this together. I leave you with these thoughts. Stop by the caring table and sign the cards. Find out what a listening booth is about. text someone you are thinking of, and join me in singing to all of these and those held in privacy.
Good morning, y'all. I've got some readings for today, and the first one is called Asa Devar by Sri Guru Granth Sahib. Wondrous is sound, wondrous is ancient wisdom, wondrous are the creatures, wondrous are their varieties, wondrous are their forms, wondrous are the colors, wondrous are the beings who wander around unclothed. Wondrous is the wind, wondrous is the water, wondrous is the fire, which works wonders. Wondrous is the earth, wondrous the sources of creation. Wondrous are the taste we seek and seize. Wondrous is union, wondrous is separation. Wondrous is hunger, wondrous is satisfaction. Wondrous is divine praise. Wondrous is divine adoration. Wondrous is the wilderness. Wondrous is the right path. Wondrous is closeness. Wondrous is distance. Wondrous to face the divine, ever-present now. Beholding these wonders, I am wonderstruck. O Nanak, those who understand this are blessed. And our second reading, if you'll join me, is on page 558 in our gray hymnal. And if you will join me in responding, this is called For Everything a Season. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time for war.
Let us enter into the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, ancestor of the stars and the sun, you who embrace the vastness of space and us along with it, be with us today. Hold us in our worry, our exhaustion, our grief. Keep us close as we sit with our truth, whatever that may be. Lead us to rest in the quiet, to find solace and renewal in this time of shifting light and dark. You whose arms open with the spinning galaxies, Help us to make room as you do for all that is. Open our hearts to our loved ones, our neighbors, the beings with whom we share this planet. Lead us to reach out to others in compassion. Turn us toward one another in mercy, right relationship, and reconciliation. Give us the courage to face our mistakes and to repair them when possible. Help us understand our interdependence, our gravitational relatedness with all the other spinning lives around us, and lead us to treat those relationships with care. In this space filled with people among us who shine like stars, this space filled with the sparkle of love and care, we give thanks for this moment to be together. May our senses be open to the beauty of this day, this season, this world. Let us continue our contemplation in silence. Amen. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our second hymn, hymn 1043 in your teal hymnal.
Good morning. My name is Claudia Presley. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations here at TVUC. We welcome you here, whether you're in our sanctuary, in our fellowship hall, or watching us online, or perhaps watching us later this week, because all of our services are on YouTube, so you can go back and watch them whenever you would like. Right now, this part of the service is to help our 2024 Share the Plate organizations. The first organization of this year is the Mountain Access Brigade. The other organizations for months February through December, you'll be getting an email, and it will also be in our newsletter letting folks know what those organizations are. You guys did a great job. You nominated 17 organizations, 12 were chosen, so look forward to hearing more about them. But today's organization is the Mountain Access Brigade. They do not have a representative here, but they will have someone next week. So I'm going to read what they sent me because I think it's important that you hear their exact words. Mountain Access Brigade. We fund abortions for Tennesseans. Abortion laws have made it increasingly difficult for Tennesseans who do not wish to be pregnant and need to travel to another state for abortion care. This disproportionately affects people with lower incomes. We can help by funding the abortion procedure and providing support with confidentiality and no judgment. We provide funding, information, and doula support for Tennessee residents seeking abortion care. We are here to provide non-judgmental support and empower your autonomy with security and privacy. Please text or call our confidential encrypted support line to leave a message, and a trained doula will get back to you within 24 hours, all with compassion and without judgment. We are an all-volunteer group of abortion doulas based in Tennessee who are passionate about helping others receive care. A doula is a non-medical professional trained to provide support for people during a major medical experience, including assisting them through miscarriage or abortion. Originally founded in 2016 as the Knoxville Abortion Doula Collective, we transformed in 2020 into Mountain Access Brigade to better serve the increasing need for financial support across the state. We use our secure support line to help clients navigate decision-making, appointment logistics, and other difficulties. That's what the Mountain Access Brigade does. Here's what you can do. Today, if you're here in the building, as you leave the sanctuary, there are baskets on either end of the choir railings. You can place checks or cash in those. If you go into our lobby, there is a giving kiosk there. You can provide support using a debit card or a credit card. If you are online, there should be somewhere on your screen a bar or a button that says Give Now. If you would like to text, you can text GIVE to the number 73256, type in TVUUC and the amount that you would like to give. A Share the Plate offering means that 50% of whatever you give today that is not marked as a pledge will go to the Share the Plate organization. The other 50% will go to the general operating fund of TVUUC. So please give generously and listen to the music that will be provided during this time. Thank you very much.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest as he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now.
Everything is holy now.
When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad, miracles don't happen still. fighting where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath, like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. Now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. 'Cause everything, everything, everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face, say it's not a testament, that'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament, I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird, shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. Now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down. Now I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
When my children were young, their favorite ride at Dollywood was the bumper cars. Are there any bumper car fans out there this morning? Yep, all right. I mentioned this ride to introduce an image, to introduce a metaphor, because when I was studying for the ministry in theology school, I assumed that ministerial leadership would mean taking a congregation from point A to point B by the shortest route possible. But now I think it's like bumper cars. Because if you get in your car and you start at point A and you move toward point B, wham! Something's going to hit you from the right or something's going to hit you from the left and knock you off course. Here's how a week in the life of a minister can go. I can start working on a sermon and wham, there's a death in the congregation. And suddenly I'm sitting with a grieving family offering counseling. Or I can be in administration mode and I can be sitting down to write a report to the board and wham, somebody knocks on the door, a person in crisis seeking counseling. Or I might start that day supporting the idea of a welcome garden, and wham! Suddenly I'm in the middle of horticultural conflict resolution. Or I might start my day by writing a newsletter column, and wham! Somebody opens my door and says, "Chris, do you smell gas?" There goes the day. I began working for this church in August 2001, And like a young, enthusiastic minister, I outlined all my plans for the first year. And then, wham, September 11th. 2 planes fly into the World Trade Center. 1 flies into the Pentagon. 1 crashes in a field in Pennsylvania. And everything changes all over the world. Everything changes. In my 7th year, I went on sabbatical to make plans for my next phase of ministry. And I was a little older, but, I was still making plans, making outlines, setting goals. And I was on the last week of my sabbatical, and I got a call from our director of administration at the time, Jenny Arthur, who said, "Chris, there's been a shooting in the church. It's bad." And it was bad. 2 people killed, Greg McKendry, Linda Krager, 8 people injured, Tammy Summers in a coma. It was bad. And all our plans out the window. After the shooting, we had years of intergenerational trauma recovery, and it was heartbreakingly difficult, and I'm sure we did it imperfectly. And there's much more to that process than I can summarize in any one sermon, but suffice it to say that just when I thought we were getting to a point of some healing and being able to make some more plans looking forward, wham, we're hit by a global pandemic. And we locked down the buildings, we quarantined, and we're practicing social distancing. Now, I could name other moments in my ministry, but suffice it to say, my ministry has been something other than an uninterrupted course from point A to point B. But here's the thing, I imagine your life has been just the same. Imagine everyone in this room has had similar experiences. As John Lennon once said, life is what happens when we're making other plans. But what is true about ministry is true about all our lives. I imagine there are people in the room who have been on a grand journey from point A to point B when wham, cancer. Wham, heart attack. Wham, stroke. Wham, divorce. Wham, unemployment. Wham, homelessness. Ministers are not the only ones who live in bumper cars. This week I'm especially aware that Payne Avenue Baptist Church doesn't have a minister this Sunday because Reverend Richard Brown, a friend of mine, died this week without much notice. Wham! Now, many of you are probably aware of or knowledgeable about the famous 20th century psychologist Carl Jung. After my father died, I was going through some of his possessions and I found a gift that I gave him one Christmas on his shelf in a cherished place. It is a Carl Jung action figure. I don't know if you have one of those, but Carl Jung, my dad was an Episcopal priest, but he had a strong interest in the intersection of psychology and religion, and he and my mom studied at the Jungian Institute in Switzerland. Carl Jung was a psychologist who would say things like, one of the main functions of organized religion is to protect people from a direct experience of God. Of course, Carl Jung's understanding of God was very different from many other people's, and I'm going to read you his words, his definition of what that word God means. He wrote, God is the name by which I designate all things which cross my willful path violently and recklessly, all things which upset my subjective views, plans, and intentions, and change the course of my life for better or worse. In other words, God is in that bumper car that slams you when you're planning to go somewhere else. The challenge of spiritual living is to find meaning in the disastrous. There is a Zen meditation that has hand motions. You can do them with me. After my house burned down, I have a clearer view of the mountains and the moon. Let's do that again. After my house burned down, I have a clearer view of the mountains and the moon. That's not an easy thing to say. That's not an easy thing to believe. But then again, no one said Zen meditation was easy. When Robert Oppenheimer, who did so much to create the atom bomb, watched the first explosion of an atom bomb, the first mushroom cloud, the words of the Bhagavad Gita came to him, "I am death, the destroyer of worlds." And that captures atomic energy, the paradox of it. So much potential for creation, but so much potential for destruction. In Hinduism, it's the god Shiva who is said to dance the dance of creation and destruction, that cycle by which something must be destroyed in order for something else to be created. A tree must be cut down in order to have the canvas upon which an artist paints a painting. Or dynamite has to blow a hole in the ground to get to the marble that a sculptor will use to make a great work of art. It's the dance of creation and destruction, the dance of Shiva. Another image is the Hindu goddess Kali, who is sometimes pictured with a sword in one hand and nursing a baby with the other. Old life must die for new life to be born. Or as my mom used to quote the scriptures, "The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Now, one of my favorite cartoons is Calvin and Hobbes, and one of my favorite strips is the one where Calvin, the boy, and Hobbes are sitting there, the tiger, and the tiger says to the boy, "Do you believe in God?" And Calvin says, "I do believe there is someone who is out to get me." In some way, young Calvin's ideas of God are very similar to Carl Jung's. God is not only found in everything beautiful and everything sublime, but everything that is out to get us. Everything that's out to get us. Swami Vivekananda said that we need to learn how to worship the terrible and the good. Worship the terrible and the good. In other words, there's a kind of egotism to worshiping a God who is always good to us, because that's kind of a self thing. You know, it's like, he's good for me, you know. Kind of narcissism for all that goodness to be coming one way, without some reverence for the God of the earthquake, or the volcano, or the hurricane. I have personal experience with what we might call the God of the hurricane, because I was in the midst of Hurricane Gilbert when it hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and my friend David and I were ensconced safely in a small hotel about 30 miles inland. But it was still, you could hear the power of that wind all around us, and we had this impulse, which is really stupid. If you're young, do not listen to what we did, because it was a stupid, irrational impulse to go outside and see it. And we stepped out into a somewhat sheltered hallway that had a view of the outdoors and watched the roof of the house next door come up and the concrete sign fall down. And if we had been intelligent, rational creatures, we would have been afraid. But what we felt, I think, was reverence. Reverence for a power greater than ourselves, reverence for power blowing through our lives, creative and destructive at the same time. A horrible power, and yet one that invoked a sense of reverence. As scriptures from the Sikh tradition tell us, wondrous is union Wondrous is separation. Wondrous is hunger. Wondrous is satisfaction. Wondrous is wilderness. Wondrous is the right path. Wondrous is closeness. Wondrous is distance. And we might add, wondrous is the terrible. And wondrous is the good. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. This week we remember the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We remember his life and his assassination. We remember the nonviolent marches and the all too violent backlash. We remember the sit-ins that our church was involved in the civil rights movement downtown, and we remember white flight to the suburbs. We remember the martyrs at Selma for the Voting Rights Act and the recent Supreme Court decision overturning so many of the provisions of that act. We remember that Dr. King had a dream and Malcolm X had a nightmare. The civil rights movement and every other movement for social change has been something other than an uninterrupted journey from point A to point B. Even so, we recommit to that work. No matter how many times we get knocked off course, because that's what we do, because that is our ministry. I think most of us would never consciously choose for terrible things to happen to us or anyone else, and yet we are shaped by the terrible things that happen. We are shaped by every hit to the bumper car we're in. Who we are as human beings is a product of every time we have been slammed on our journey from point A to point B. So in conclusion, let me say in my wallet, I have a driver's license that indicates that I am an organ donor. That way I know if something terrible happens, something good will also happen. Being an organ donor is my very small way of trying to attempt to participate in the dance of Shiva, the dance of creation and destruction. It is my small way of trying to worship the terrible and the good. It's my way of ensuring that after death, my heart will still be in a holy place. With that thought in mind, let's close with our closing hymn. In hymn 1008 in the Teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Lord is in a holy place. Prophetic Church, the world awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love. Proclaim the truth that makes us free. Out and get milk and bread, I invite you as our last act of worship to turn and greet your neighbor.